I'm so sad and upset. I thought I finally got Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom working, but nope. I don't want to listen to my own music. I like the music here, so maybe a little later. Guaranteed to run into one enemy encounter before I get to the next floor. Believe it. Oh yeah, I'll go explore. I wanted to go do some farming some materials and stuff. Let's see the kind of damage Veil can do now that she's foregone the style of fist and has returned to monkey. Not bad. Better than before, I suppose. And she has summons to help. If normal damage ends up not being enough, oh really, Alma? What? What could you possibly be weak to? Fire? Fixed movement. They're ruining the perfectly good music. Nice. Yo, wow, what Yohoza! I have no idea what I just said, but that was awesome. It's always exciting whenever we get to do an insta-kill. God bless whoever came up with insta-kill moves. Oh boy, more teleporters. Oh my. Oh. No, not again. The tiger to sick him.
Honestly, very, very easy. Carlos is going to be absolutely... Want to use the grenade launcher against his heart? I doubt that does anything. Whoa! Honestly, this is just pure strategy. There's no way, I can't get back in. It's a quick trip out of bounds. That does mean though I can open this. And I can't wait for it to give me magnifier. I'll save that for Jill, just in case I come across the magnifier. The liquor's not great. The liquor's kind of fine. More acid rounds, like fuck off, seriously. This is so annoying.
Yeah.
You know,
No way back.
Right. Oh, fuck, crying out loud. Oh, here's the key. I was gonna say, where's the key? Right, don't need that. This. Try to pass the ground. It's not really worth it. You might save like a couple of bullets, but risk of getting hit is like far greater.
Oh.
Like, it's just not worth the risk. Oh, for God's sake.
I'm gonna guess that this, yep.
Acid rounds. Honestly, the greatest to ever do it. I think Thomas punched the button, but rounds, acid rounds, shotgun shells.
Nice. It's rigged against me. Nice. Really? Oh, resistant to all the elements. My lucky day.
It's not looking good.
Nice. Good.
What a fucking this.
Rough. Rough. Oh my god, that Phlox hits really hard. Don't take that out of context. Alright, Mara Doom against Rod. Alma switching to a gun.
I mean, I'm probably gonna die anyway.
If I brought her backup gun. Damn it. Oh wow, that was fast. Yeah, I'm running. I'm getting the heck out of here.
He didn't even struggle.
At all.
He didn't even struggle. Did I save? I don't think I saved this. Like, it was not distributed. So my goal, yeah, because it's Carlos' weapon, see?
Maybe it's a
You
weapon.
get like different ammo. When I played as Carlos, more like all this dual stuff, and then you got more. Just right,
The house at Navelhammer. Albion. Damn.
I applied for the partner and they gave it to me like the next day. But I already knew beforehand if I take that partnership, I can't stream to YouTube anymore. I'll possibly stream to YouTube and I'm well, and that's just stupid. I'm gonna cut off like. I'm gonna cut off like most of my. Cut off my large platform. Have a check for on Twitch. Next time you point three acid rounds, very nice. It seems like they stopped randomizing the key items.
Huh, sounds kinda fun.
Oh, we haven't seen what happens. I know some people are doing like I was thinking about it, but I just. Magnum is actually really for time.
20 for everything is overkill.
Shouldn't say why you're on that yet. I may have not even having enough ammo for the final boss if I don't get any hand ammo. I might even get different things as well. I wouldn't mind like some shotgun ammo. Just like 12 shotgun ammo would be nice. Survival ammo. 600%.
Nice. Double. Ooh, baby. Ooh,
You've
baby.
definitely got less HP.
Don't need to risk it. Damn. Only got 2 life honeys though. Dang it.
This thinker. I forgot that you can actually use the acid to kill him. Like, to edge. Maybe the acid can kill him now. So that's what Carlos says when he gets a jump, but it's smash time. Right, well, it's pretty much the randomizer over.
Mahogany.
Sad. Why was everyone sad?
Really? Alone, yeah. Nice. One more? Alright.
Sadly, this will be the end
Sure.
of the stream, pretty much.
Yeah, whatever. I'll just safe stroll my way out. Well, it feels like it's a bit inefficient to just go for one run. May as well do another, at the very least. Excuse me?
My man wants free wrecking. Oh, wrecking, guys! Let's go! Inferno, randomized, right? 15 devs, B-rank.
Ooh, look at all these.
Sorry, I'm first. Well, next. As you can see, guys, that's how you finish the game. Not dying at all. Never did not miss the shot.
Let's see what kind of fish we can get. Ooh, that guy's back. I am going to get that guy even if it's the last thing I do. Woohoo! That was a good haul. Again, though, going to the dungeon is still just leagues better.
The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom is one of my favorite games. The mechanics and open world were some of the best to explore and experiment with. are within the structure itself, so it's very clear where it starts and ends. The blessings, however, generally have their challenge outside of the shrine itself. For those shrines, I'll be judging the quest required to unlock the shrine, that way we don't have to just judge the inside and have the bottom 50 spots all be the same thing. For normal shrines, I will be considering where they're hidden or placed in the world, as they're not usually that notable. And of course, this video is just my opinion, which also brings me to something that came up while making this. See, as I was outlining this video, I just so happened to look at my YouTube notifications and saw this. So it seems like Pete Jiggles is also planning on making a shrine ranking in the future. I felt kind of bad about this since I've had my videos overlap with other people before. I just can't do it, I can't. So I'm just going to say right out the bat to go watch his video when it comes out. If you enjoy this video, I'm sure you'll enjoy his as well. Anyways, all of the footage from this video, unless specifically stated, will all be coming from my first playthrough of the game. So if you see any stupid decisions in the gameplay, it's because I'm stupid. How I play through each shrine will likely also have a large effect on my ranking of it. And since I thought it could be fun, if you want to see my playthrough of how I beat some of these shrines, I uploaded a massive uncommentated video of me going through every shrine on my second channel, which is linked in the description. Anyways, long intro aside, if you enjoyed, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you all again for 150,000 subscribers, and let's get right to the ranking. Alright, so you know how I said I didn't want to fill up the bottom of the list with just a bunch of blessing shrines? Well, I lied. Okay, it's not all 50 blessing shrines, only 9 of them. But what about them makes me think that they're the worst? There's literally nothing to them. These are all placed in locations where I would expect a normal shrine to be located, but instead of containing actual content, it's just a blessing. For some of these, I legitimately can't tell you what the challenge was supposed to be. If you squint at some of these, you can sort of come up with something, but really, these just all feel lazy. So for 152, we have Rora's Blessing, Battle Shrine. Okay, let me just say, unless it's a blessing shrine, I'll be skipping the secondary name here because I predict I'll pronounce all of them wrong. Speaking of secondary, I thought it would be fun to include when I completed each shrine, since this game is very non-linear. So this number here will show you when I completed the shrine. So for example, this one was the 124th shrine I completed. This shrine is found in the neighborhood wetlands. All you have to do is climb up this hill and you're going to find this cave. 151, Rora's Blessing, Sunset Shrine. This is located in the Gerudo Highlands, requiring you to go through this bit of snow with access to fire. I'll put this above the last one because at least you can say that freezing weather can be a small challenge. As long as you have a fire key sign on your shield, you'll be fine. Plus, there are plenty of other shrines and freezing areas that actually have content inside. 150, Rora's Blessing, Digi. Oh wait, Digi, like Mario? This is located in the Lost Woods and requires the player to skydive on top of it. If you try to approach it from the sides, then the link will get blocked. So I guess it's mildly interesting that this is the only way to do it. But again, there are plenty of other actual shrines you can skydive onto. And 149, Rora's Blessing, Taki Taro Shrine. This was actually the first blessing shrine I found in my playthrough. This is found in the It's an extremely straightforward path, though. Pretty much no way to miss. Just by walking to the shrine like the game is easier to relax and read is an obstacle here that I can understand. That being the reason again. The shrine still deserves to be down here, though, because I didn't even notice them until after the class. 148, Rora's Blessing, Eurosect. This is located at the end of the Gerudo Desert. Now that may seem like it could be a decent challenge to reach, but if you go to complete the Lightning Temple, you go pretty much right next to it. I'm sure the map does go all fuzzy, which gives the snake the last four, but that's really not saying. 147, Rora's Blessing, located in Nintendo Village, this acts as a tutorial for the shrine detector on the Gerudo map. Since it's meant to be a tutorial, I decided to give it a bit of leeway, but it's really the same as the others. Just enter into the Red Sun Forest Cave, you'll find it right away. But like I said, it's a tutorial, so I guess it can't get a tiny pass. Also, Robbie sucks. He would just not let me leave for like 3 minutes. Please just let me go. It's outside. 46. Rora's Blessing, Bambi. This is located inside of Mount Dusty Cave. What puts this above the last view is that there are a few enemies in the slippery walls. Slippery walls are very cool to climb. 145. Rora's Blessing, Sunset Shrine. This shrine is found in the Tia Village ruins as well. It's essentially the same as our last shrine. I like this a bit better though, as instead of constantly slipping on the wall, you have the option to run up this waterfall with the Rora's 144, Rora's Blessing. This is located in the Neighborhood Road East Cave. This ends our slippery walls. While you can't go through the head and give you some flying, in this cave you can actually glide into the place with
I forgot the first floor.
It's not much puzzle solving, but compared to the other bottom shrines, I'll take any puzzle. 143, Urge to Fall. We're free, finally! No more blessing shrines! So now that we have our first actual shrine, why is it so low? This will probably be my most controversial ranking, maybe, because unlike these other low tier shrines, this does actually have some content. This shrine starts out with some massive doors that Link will need to open. Seeing as there are a bunch of lasers on the other side, and activating them in every other others, though, you sort of run into some problems. So you need a key to unlock this door with the orb to complete the shrine. The thing is, nowhere in this massive room is there a key. I personally spent several minutes just wandering around in here hoping to find something useful. I did eventually find a chest under a grate, but had no idea how I was supposed to reach it. It wasn't until I completed several laps around this room that I finally found the solution out of my sheer boredom. Unlike every other shrine in the game, the lasers in this one are actually the solution. Yeah, I just don't like this. We're conditioned to believe that lasers will kill you by literally every other shrine, so this being a reverse is kind of annoying. Add on that the room here is pretty big, and it can lead to players, like myself, just thinking they missed something in this massive space. I'm sure some people like the idea here, and that's fine, but for me, I just wasn't a huge fan. Plus, it's not even like this has much content even if you don't actually see it. The rest of the shrine is nothing that crazy either, just using a plain smooth door to control. So that's why this is my personal least favorite actual shrine. 142, of all time bound. I like the shrines that are low because they're lacking content, but since this is a real shrine, there is actually a puzzle. What you have to do is use recall on the new platforms that it launches this ball into the target. While that idea is pretty solid, you literally just have to do this once. I had no clue why they decided to not expand on the shrine at all, because there was some potential here, but that's also not the only problem. In fact, this is our first shrine to introduce a mechanic that ruins or severely hurts every shrine it's included in. See, this target platform is meant to activate when something like this sphere hits it, which makes sense. But for some reason, if you fuse a bomb to your arrows, that can also activate it. That goes for every single target platform in the game, which are pretty common in Shrine. I had zero clue why they decided to include this, because there's no shrine where using a bomb arrow is the intended solution. This is, in my opinion, a bad type of cheat, because every single time you see a target, you just pull out your bow and hit it with a bomb. That's not interesting or creative in the slightest. And since that's so easy, every shrine with this target platform is hurt because this cheat solution is so accessible. Be prepared for this to come up often, because this target element is far from being common. Oh, and just to add on even more to this shrine, the chest here gives you bombs, so now you can cheese it with no worries about being low on them. Yeah, everything but the idea here is bad, which is what lends the shrine so low. 141, Wind Power. Once again, we have another shrine that is just one simple puzzle that doesn't really get expanded on. When you enter the shrine, you have a wheel in front of you along with some fans. You need to use these fans to activate all of the things along the circle, though you have to do it quickly as they'll stop moving if they don't receive wind power for a few seconds. There are a few different ways to do this, but I just attach them to the fan like this and quickly walked around the circle with Ultra Man. Right after you do that, the shrine is done. So once again, it's a very short one. The chest is also notably quite lame. All you have to do is place down a fan. Like, this is what I would expect from the fan tutorial shrine, but even that one had a chest that was much more interesting. The reason this gets placed above the last one is because this doesn't have a target. Still though, I'm not Alright, unlike our other blessing shrines so far, this one does actually have a challenge attached to it. It's just that the challenge is very easy. This is located in the Lost Woods. You have to get this for finding golden apples. Now sure, if you don't have any, finding golden apples can be somewhat challenging. Oh my god! By the time you get here, you're probably gonna have one. For most people, this shrine is just picking up the rock and moving it to the spot. It's definitely a bit better than the other blessing shrines, so 30 seconds after that. First off, getting into the shrine was a massive challenge. For this shrine, you just ascend through the ceiling and then use recall on a block to ascend to the end. That's not how you're supposed to do it, but it's so easy I can't see a reason. This can be completed within literal seconds. Chesting 138 is about this plan. What you're supposed to do is make sure the weights on one side of the platform are heavy enough to keep it in place where you will not be afraid to the platform you select. This shrine is also super short too. The chest is at least somewhat interesting though, as it requires a bit of extra platform shenanigans, which saves it from being low. 137, a retrace path. This shrine has a ball roll down the slope, and you have to hit this switch and use recall in. Oh, but the chest! Just this is definitely a shrine now. This would be a lot lower on this list, had it not been for the lead-up to this shrine being kind of cool. I know I said I'd be ignoring the lead-ups to most shrines, but if they have a puzzle completely required to get to them, then I decided to add it. This isn't anything too special though, just requiring to clear the bombs and rocks in this game to be play. It's nothing much, but this shrine really needed all of it. Okay, now we have 7 shrines that I'm sure you all expected to be as well, those being the combat training shrines. These are just meant to be tutorials for different obscure combat mechanics, which are nice to have, but since that's literally all these are, it's hard to argue they deserve to be for these high runs. I mean, it's better than the 5 that in this description. 136, combat training, throwing, and attention. Observant viewers may notice that I actually set the secondary name for this shrine, as for some reason there are 2 combat training throwing shrines, the other being 135, combat training throwing, Yaku. Both of these require the player to throw either a rusty halberd or a fire blade into the monster. You have to do this twice, once on a stationary target and the other on a moving target. This works as a good tutorial, but again, they're very simplistic compared to other shrines. I put these as the lowest combat training shrines because I really don't
I need a good front line that has good defense.
134, combat training archery. This is another combat training shrine to have two different versions of the same thing. The other one is placed a bit higher though, which we'll get to in a minute. But as for this, it just forces you to headshot the training monster. It's not a very interesting tutorial, but I guess it's nice to show that there are key differences. Combat training. This gives you a tutorial on how to get it. Now that might sound useful. That might just be a little cut. 132. Combat training. This is a step up that we get to
I reach out to the spirit of my life, taking the seas on the moment, is not to break away. Or let me out, you let me out, you let me take from this time to
However, of these combat training shrines, this was definitely the most important. Whoever decided to make the next of these pieces. Yeah, it's still going. They really made it last this long. They didn't need to do that. Why did they do that? 130, combat training archery, taunt shrine. Finally, we've reached the last combat training shrine. Also,
Oh yeah, Vale has to be in the front or else she'll suck.
Full time to go with the taunt shrine, which is an important mechanic. The reason this gets to be the highest combat training shrine though is because for some reason this is locked behind the diving wall. See, there are 3 shrines you'll need to unlock by diving in the sky, but I really don't understand why a combat training shrine would be fine. We didn't want to keep the combat training shrines easily accessible since they're meant to be a tutorial. This extra dive does make this combat training shrine have more content than the others, making this fast. 129, leather power. Alright, back to some actual shrines. From this point on, the rankings get quite close. It wasn't uncommon for some shrines to move up or down 50 spots or so while I was playing, so just keep in mind that this was really hard as most shrines
I guess that was the good thing about Vale being a fister, since she didn't deal that much damage already anyways. It didn't matter whether she was in the front or in the back, plus Aura Blast. It's a thing.
This one is still pretty short, but unlike the ones lower than this, it does actually expand on the idea a little. Obviously, they could have gone further with it, and this does also use targets, which means that bombs can once again get you pretty cheap. I also don't really like the chest here. It requires you to launch yourself and fly backwards to get it, which isn't that interesting of a challenge, just forces you to launch yourself twice. 128, shape rotation. This is another one that I think might be a smidge controversial, as I just don't like completing it. It starts out with a platform and
Her summons are so
what you have
good.
to do is turn the platform with Ultra Hand to slide it through. Then you have to do the same thing with 2 attached cables. This can also be used to get a chest in the first one. I definitely did this in the... After you do that, then you have to try and stick the cubes into this other hole wall to reach the end.
It's a walk up there
Once
every
you finally
day.
do that, it's just a simple walk up to the end. This is a decent showcase of the rotation mechanic on Ultra Hand, but personally, I still found this to be quite hard and I don't like spam the rotation. But again, that's probably just because of it. 127, the way. This shrine is all about using Ultra Hand and Ascend. In the first room, you simply place the platform on the bars and ascend through.
I get by
Second room, you use recall to
It's
get the
just
platform
how
in the
your
air.
life is like.
And in the third room,
I know it's not
again, this
compatible.
shrine is pretty boring.
But
And it is decorated here, so it's fun to play. I will say though, I did quite like it for chest here. It requires you to put one of the spikes on the sky.
Up and straight on into the lock on land. Phone out to the play.
Despite the name, you actually don't need to hear those things you pass the shrine. Here's a tutorial on how to actually
History,
Okay, yeah, I just changed this one. To be fair, this was more fun than the actual solution. What you're supposed to do is just place a block to get across the water, then place 2 blocks to ascend to the end. So, yeah, pretty good. 125, building bridges. As the name implies, you have to use Ultra Hand to create several bridges to link to the end. The first bridge acts as a tutorial, which attached to the other end of the problem. The next bridge is significantly longer, which
You gotta
requires
have
you
to,
to
you gotta play by
By
the
simply
rules
holding
of
the
the
bridge
food,
up for
gotta
30
have,
seconds
and the
and
face
free
that
fall,
is
you
at
get
it.
past not
When
completing
you
this
present
bridge,
both, you
other
gotta
one
like, gonna face it.
that makes this shrine incredibly easy. Other than
It's
that, it's not that
Over
hard to do
60.
without cheese. I do like that the test requires you to attach the middle portion to something rather than the end. It's not hard, but it's nice to see 2D use of
That's
this
just
bridge.
how you like to
124,
buy.
moving the sphere. This shrine contains
what
3
to
rooms,
say.
each separated
But
with
seems
a gap
everyone
in
can
each
use a knife, huh?
Link has to use these spheres in order to cross these gaps. If you saw how I solved the last shrine, I'm sure you guessed that I just with that, this shrine is very simple and also not the chest is hidden in a good spot though, being a breakable wall underneath the second platform. Besides that, this is pretty boring. It is slightly harder than the previous though, which gives it an advantage. 120 on the way. This is about using There are quite a few shrines like this though, and I felt that this was the weakest. The opening room requires you to use a plane ticket in order to hold it. Or if you're awesome like me, you can just go ballin'. So after using a plane ticket to warp across, you then have to use a plane and fan to get across the big gap. The chest is also in this room, but it's incredibly boring, so it's not even cool. Yeah, this shrine is just very generic. Flying is kind of fun though, so I won't give it 122, force transfer. So when I did this shrine, I didn't realize this thing was a switch, so I just brute forced this thing without it. While that might sound like a lot of trouble, honestly this shrine is still pretty easy regardless. Normally you have to use this pole to connect the gears to this gauge, but I just use Ultra Hand and Walk. Then you have to use the spinning gears to knock these platforms up to reach the end, or you can just descend through them and climb the pole. Honestly, neither the intended method nor my stupid method were particularly interesting. I will say though, the chest is pretty fun, as you have to attach these poles together to get it down. It doesn't seem pretty much inconvenient. But yeah, this one is just kind of 121. Starting this shrine out, you're trapped in a small room with a torch and unlit door to the ceiling. I wish you could hear it play. There is a door to the floor. This room is important to the far right, and a button directly in front of you that moves the platform. But that's not all this button does, it also causes other torches to spawn from these the platform, which is the main goal of the room. Sadly, I decided to turn my camera literally right to the spawn, so I then had to spend a few minutes just rambling around the room looking for what to do. At least I found the chest, I guess. It was honestly not very good. Anyway, what you have to do is have something on the pressure plate and then light the 3 torches on the ceiling. There are a few ways to do this, but I just dropped the weapon and shot it with fire. Overall, this is still an incredibly short shrine, but it's definitely more puzzling than what we've seen so far, which takes away time having my camera pointed directly down. 120, Rogue's Blessing to Magic Shrine. This one is simply located in Elmendor as well. While if it's just placed at the end of this, why does it seem to place so much higher than the other blessing shrines that are just in the open? Well, this area is shrouded in complete darkness. It's a small speed sure, but it's at least something. The well is also decently big, so getting across the water doesn't it's still certainly on the lower end of blessing shrines, but it's not bad. 119, Rogue's Blessing. Here we have our second blessing shrine to
Let that fire up in the
right above
night.
several holes in the ground. Inside of them is a cave area filled with some enemies and stuff. They don't need to defeat the enemies, but I decided to consider them part of the challenge anyway. Once you defeat them,
I just realized.
once you get into the sky and have to get crashed back down, it's quite fun, but it's also not very useful for keeping it lower. 118, right broken. Like I said before, it's really a shame that they had to implement that bomb.
Can't V3 just be in the back?
Right way so that they hit the target sliding down slow. That's pretty cool, but yeah, everything here is on cheese and cheese. The idea also isn't the most creative thing in the world. There are of course targets later
put E in a bit of danger.
This one is just kind of whatever. 117, spinning gears. This uses a combination of gears and recall to solve this puzzle. The first one you simply use recall and gear to make the opposite direction. The next turn you have to crank the gear with multiple
Let me rethink my team real quick.
Yeah, this shrine is super short for no reason. This definitely should have had a few more gear-related puzzles. The only thing saving this shrine is the chest, as it is actually really well hidden. Instead of going up from here,
Why do I
and
keep
follow the gear down, you'll be dropped into a secret room with the chest in it. I think that's a fantastic way to use the shrine gimmick with the chest. So yeah, this has a good idea and a really good chest, but it just needed to be expanded. 116, where I go in. Unlike most other shrines, there's really no puzzle elements. Essentially, it's just a big obstacle course. First, you have to cross a small gap, then lasers, then fall into an ice platform, and finally pass these constructs to the end. As you can see, it's very simple, but the link is pretty solid, so it's an okay shrine. I do think they probably could have come up with this slightly more interesting. 115, Rogue's Blessing. This is our first of many blessing shrines that require us to fight a boss. All I do like them most of the time is the bosses in this game. They have some pretty fun combat mechanics. This one is just the fighting and some in-house. On top of that, it's a generic fight. I mean, I'm assuming it doesn't level up with UC, it's just the 130. Saying this fight was easy by that point would be interesting. It really just depends on when you get to the shrine mechanics, which is why I'm here, since this could be some trouble if it's one of the first shrines you have. 114, Rogue's Blessing, and Noble Shrine. This one, pretty much all you have to do is grab the shrine rock from the Sky Island and fall all the way down to the water. There's really not that much effort involved in everything. My brother did mention that if you start with the cave, it can be slightly more interesting as the beat just shoots straight upward. But for me, I was just exploring Sky Islands and happened to stumble upon this thing first. Again, not a bad shrine, but it's just not much to do. 113, Barley Blessing Brutality. This is another blessing shrine that doesn't really take that much effort, but isn't too bad. This takes place in the Burma Mountains and first requires a player to go enemies in the cave. Typically, you don't have to, but it makes the shrine much easier. Once you're done with the fight, you may notice that inside the freaking lake there's a shrine rock, which unfortunately you need to grab the other. In order to solve this, I personally made the Zelda equivalent of one of those stretching hand toys to grab the rock. Yeah, once you pull the rock out of the pond, you're basically done. It's a decent Pokemon. 112, Backtrack. Sex and Grease will showcase the three puzzles. Honestly, you may even be able to mix it up before the shrine meant to show up. There are 3 puzzles here. The first one you just have to use Recall this platform so it goes up instead of down. The second one requires you to look at torches. And you can go on this raft and then recall it to get fire. The chest is also but in my opinion, it's kind of weird as it doesn't really use recall. Instead, it just has 7 days on fire. Personally, I would have liked it if it did something with recall, seeing as that is what this shrine is all about, but whatever that is. The last puzzle of this shrine is pretty cool though. You have an orb and 2 holders for it, each opening a different gate. So you have to put the ball into the 2 holders, then use recall so you can go through the gates and ball. So this shrine has one pretty good puzzle, but the other 2 are either basic or easy to cheat. It certainly doesn't help that there are quite a few simple recall shrines, and the last puzzle is pretty good, so I'll give it some credit. Speaking of recall shrines, 111, the ability to rewind. This is the first of the 4 required abilities.
Never see
Despite
it
them being
coming.
very certain the game, I actually feel like a lot of them are pretty
You'll
solid.
see
One is
that my mind is
but we have
fast
2
for life.
First, you have to use recall on a raft to go up the waterfall. Basically the same way the last one started, but this is a bit more fun due to how the raft moves around. Once you get up there, you can go with the chest. Unlike the last one, it actually requires you to use recall, so I like it a bit more. The final puzzle is pretty interesting though. It requires you to recall one of the clocked hands that it moves the same with the other. This is pretty fun to do, even if I messed up a few times. The reason I like this one better is because of A, the chest, and B, the fact that this is meant to be an action tutorial, so the other one feels a bit unnecessary. 110, Rise and Fall. Just in case you thought we were done with the recall-centric shrines, don't you worry, as we still have one more to go. This is more about using recall in a specific way, though, rather than just being a tutorial for the ability as a whole, which puts it above the other 2. This has 3 different puzzles. For the first one, you have to launch a platform and then use recall to ride on top of it. Pretty similar to how the other 2 started, but there's at least the extra element of having to activate the platform first. And then breaking to a block, which you not only have to keep in the chest, but also reach the final room. Much like the other shrines, this room is my favorite. While this ending puzzle probably isn't as good as the other 2, it's still solid. You enter into this last room and remember another button that activates the launcher. However, you can't recall the launcher itself, so you have to find a block into the room with this on, but you can then recall the plane again. I love that this shrine was a bit more focused than the other 2, but really they're all just about the same difficulty. 109, Flying the Bugs. Slave Train number 2. While this does take a bit of a hit due to there being so many shrines about this element, I kind of like how this one is set up. This not only teaches you about the wings, but also how it interacts with other objects that are essential in building wings throughout the game. First you start with the regular wings by themselves, but then you have to attach the cart element to it. Planes won't fly if they can't move on the ground, which is a very important thing to teach, so I appreciate this shrine showing how you could possibly get around that issue. After you constructed a plane with wheels, you then have to add a fan to it to reach the end. Before you go, though, the chest is also
Are you
huge.
sure
I definitely
the
did this
next
to
move's
be
the right one for you? Are you sure you won't get out the money? But again, my friend. Yeah, this shrine, while still quite basic, acts as a good way to teach the player about the wings mechanics. It is still a bit hard due to how many wing-based shrines there are, but this is definitely solid. 108 is Turbine Power. The puzzle here is kind of fun, but pretty straightforward. To start off, you first need to power the spinning elements in the center by using the power platform. Then you have to add a fan element to the spinner. Once you get that attached, it gives you access to the higher levels of the shrine, giving you a chest and some flame barriers. Attach one of those to the turbine in the middle, and you're able to light all of the torches and finish off the shrine. Like I said, pretty short and simple, but it was fun enough to run through. Plus the fire tornado looks kind of cool. 107, Works of Water. As the name suggests, this acts as a showcase for the Works of Water, which are important elements leading up to the water tunnel. This shrine also takes place at low gravity, so Link will fall slower. I'm sure others may find this annoying, but I personally enjoy messing around with this. Sadly though, I can't really say I enjoy messing with the Orbs of Water themselves. This pretty much has 4 different things you need to solve. The first room just shows that you can ride inside the water, a pretty basic tutorial. The second puzzle has you use recalling the orb. You
can't do it all. Inside of the orb, you have to quickly jump into it before the pulse freeze time runs out. Honestly, I do like this one. It's a cute puzzle. Then you just have to ride it over water horizontally. For the spinal puzzle, you have to make the orb water bounce
Find the weapons can...
across the gap to the end. This took me way longer than it should have, but regardless, I think the puzzles here are just sort of okay.
They can do spears or guns or something, any ranged weapon. No.
This shrine is located within the big lava Terra. It's kind of cool, but I really didn't find it too terrible. I just sort of blended into it after making the higher, but I can't understand some of the stuff higher and which is 105, Glory Blessing Shrine. This takes place on the Sky Mine, and you have to sort between several different sky islands, catapults that are often on. It's pretty fun to get flung between different islands. There are even constructed rocket arrows to stop you from going down. Once you finally get up to the top, you'll find the shrine stone on the island filled with snow. You get the snow, you then have to throw it all the way back down to where you started, which is quite fun as well. Overall, a pretty simple shrine, but one I would say I had fun doing. I do have to say though, this could have been a lot better. Directly next to the shrine rock is one of the giant sky balls that creates a mini-game catapult. You have to try and angle it just the right way to land a heavy inside of it to activate the ball spin. This was actually really fun to do, and it's a bit more tricky than it makes it work. Once you do it, you get rewarded with some nice shape guard. It's a good reward, don't get me wrong, but if this is where the shrine stone was placed, then I would have liked this shrine much more, as it would have further expanded upon the content. As it is, it's still pretty solid, it just could have been better. 104, where are we blessing? Sinking Dogs. In order to unlock this one, you need to complete one of the 3 diving activities. These are pretty fun to do, so I enjoy this shrine a decent amount. Now, if you've been paying any attention, you may be a bit confused as to why this shrine is higher up in the combat training archery shrine you mentioned before, that also involved the diving activity. After all, that one actually had some content after the diving game, whereas this one was just a blessing. Well, first off, this dive is harder for me. The main reason I put this one higher is because I find that combat training shrines not really be that interesting for different tutorials, so it ends up feeling like an extra chore rather than extra content. Now, the third diving shrine is an actual shrine, which is why it's above these two, but I think just having nothing like this one is a bit better than having a tutorial. 103, Ability Garage. Speaking of tutorials, we have this shrine that's meant to teach us all about the Ascend ability. I imagine of the 4 abilities, this is probably the most difficult to use for creative puzzles, but in all honesty, they do a decent job here. First, you start by simply ascending through a ceiling, then you ascend through some pillars, one of which having a chest, which brings you to the more puzzle-oriented parts of the shrine. In this room, you have to fight against a construct and then cut some ropes holding up a platform. There's also another pretty good chest in here, as you have to break the crates and then ascend from the hole on. As I've said before, I like when the chest implements the shrine's gimmick into collecting it, and this is a good reason to ascend. Finally, you have to use ascend on the moving platform to reach the end. Yeah, this is quite a basic tutorial, but I think they did a pretty good job of how you use ascend from. 102, this is halfway. So this expands upon the ascend ability a little bit by having to focus a lot more on parkour and creating your own path. First, you start by simply ascending through a ceiling, which brings you to the first puzzle. What you have to do is place this big block up with the slabs that you can ascend from. Ascending through multiple objects wasn't really shown in the last shrine, so I'm happy it was shown off here. The chest is also in this room, requiring some more work again. I feel like there's another method, but I'm a bit too stupid to think of what that was, so anyway, the last room is a bit tricky. You have to use ascend through a pillar, but since it's over water, there's no way to do that. What you have to do is grab out a block and place it under the pillar. Then the block is too small to climb. What you have to do then is ascend through where you just got the block, then jump onto that block and ascend to the end. I think that's a pretty good ending. And a pretty good expansion on the ascend. This one is pretty short, but I think it's a creative enough idea. The goal for this ride is to power the banner to the elevator so that you can reach the end. The battery is turned on is remember there is also a wheel in some water. However, the wheel isn't moving because the water isn't hitting it. So you have to attach the nearby platform just the right way to get the platform spinning, which is pretty fun. This will allow you to charge the battery, which you can then use to get to the end. Before you do that though, you can also use it to get the chest by powering up this water at the side. Now I'm sure you can figure out a way to safely cross this, but like you're kidding yourself. Once you do that though, you can attach the battery and reach the end. Now yes, this shrine is incredibly short, but I do give it a tiny bit of leeway since the puzzle does take a decent amount of thinking and may not be immediately obvious. Still, it is just a bit too short to place it higher. One you can probably just use it like a shield to double. 100. It's about time we find a shrine. If you remember the Justice Ring from a while, I said these are sort of meant to be places. This is really doing these shrines justice. I mean, those are basically all the exact same thing, with very minor changes. These grounds are all very different. Let's start with what they share, though. Whenever you enter one of these shrines, you completely blow your equipment. Your goal is to defeat every enemy in the room before the ending. Both you have to build up and the layout of the room completely changes for each of the shrines, which makes these actually quite fun to run through. I've heard some people are not huge fans of these, but I honestly like them quite a bit. It was fun to try and find the best way to take out these enemies, and some of them could be quite challenging as well. They'll be all over the place in the ranking, but to start start us off, the beginner one makes the most sense to me. This is just 4 constructs and a basic collection of weapons. Obviously, it has to be the lowest Proving Grounds, this is meant to be the baseline, but I think it's a pretty good starting point. 99 Proving Grounds Intermediate. This acts as a small step up from the beginner version. Now there are 7 constructs and the layout of the room is a bit more varied. Unlike the higher up Proving Grounds though, this doesn't really have a strong theme to it, which is why I'm keeping it here for beginner. 98 Proving Ground Short Circuit. Like the last entry, this is a pretty basic setup. It does have a few walls, so you can maybe manage to get a sneak strike in if you're good. Besides that, this is a pretty generic Proving Ground. 97 Proving Grounds Flow. This will be our last Proving Ground shrine for a moment. Unlike the other 3 we've seen so far, this does have a pretty clear theme, as the constructs are all placed on grass floating in water. While this definitely does make for a pretty challenging shrine, in all honesty, I didn't really having to wait around for the grass to move into position was pretty tedious, and so was swimming through the water. I would definitely understand people thinking the shrine deserves to be higher up, because like I said, it is pretty challenging, but I'm putting it relatively low just because it was one of the only Proving Grounds I didn't have that much fun in person. 96. Burry's Blessing, Sissy Ranch. This blessing shrine takes place on the North River Mountains. It's one of the very few blessings where we can see the shrine rock from the shrine platform. Basically, that means it's easy to get the rock over to the platform, however there is one catch. By going over to the rock, it's revealed that it is embedded in a girl's talus. This is our first of these 3 talus blessings, and I think this is easily weakened. Now I will say I probably put this up higher than most would because I actually quite enjoy finding taluses. However, let's not kid ourselves, this shrine is nothing special. This being a frost talus does make it a bit more interesting, since they're probably the rarest talus. There's a bit more of a problem. A frost talus's gimmick is that it will freeze anyone standing on top of it, making them fight for it. However, if you got the Zant helmet from the depths, you can't breathe. That essentially turns this into a normal talus fight, and from there, there's really nothing else to do other than walk through the platform. Now, I'm aware most people probably won't have this helmet when fighting this guy, but even still, this is a pretty weak blessing due to not having much more than this. 95, the ability to create. We finally made it to the first shrine in the entire game, and I gotta say, it did a pretty good job making this song. This is a tutorial for the game's very first ability.
Fuck you guys.
In many different ways. First, you simply
I have
need to create a
prey.
ramp for yourself, and then you need to attach 2 slabs together to make a larger bridge. The last puzzle requires us to make a device that can cross this massive gap. I think this is a good final puzzle to throw on, as it shows off the more unique use of Ultraman, which can get people to start thinking about other ways to use it. But with that, we reach the end. Obviously, this shrine was bound to be very simple since it's the first shrine in the game, but I think despite that, this does a great job showing off how Ultraman can be used effectively. I also like it more than the other tutorial shrines we've seen so far, as this one has a bit more room for creative solutions. 94, More Than Defense. This verse is a showcase of how you can fuse certain elements to your shield to give it new abilities. The first room focuses on a flame emitter, which can be able to melt ice. The second room focuses on a stone plate, which can defend against massive blasts of fire. Finally, the third room focuses on a rocket shield and how it can launch you high up into the air. This is a really nice tutorial to have, and I'm also happy that for each shield you have to fight a monster. There's really not much puzzle here though, and the solution for every room is basically the exact same thing, so I have to keep it mental. 93, Burry's Blessing, Cookie Shrine. Found in Opi's favorite cave, you have to walk the crystal through it to the end. It seems pretty simple, doesn't it? All you have to make sure to watch for rolling rocks. Several of them roll past you as you try to bring the crystal to the end. The first room will have rocks come from the side. These are pretty fun to avoid, but just be careful to not accidentally place the crystal into the water, as if it sinks too far down, it will be swamped. That's not the only room you have to go through though, as once you reach the end, you have to go through a skinny hallway where it's impossible to dodge the rocks without stopping them from some way. But once you get through that hallway, you can then finally reach the end.
Might self-destruct
While this is
again.
definitely still quite simple, I like the idea behind this one, and it's one of the more unique ones in the shrine. 92, Mid-Air Purge. This acts as a showcase for the Hoverstone Zone I devised. The first room simply requires Link to use a platform to get to the high ledge. The next room has Link use the Hoverstone to make a bridge, and a way to get up to an even higher ledge. Personally, I just did the classic recall trick. The final room has us use the Hoverstones to not only get a chest, but also move the orbit rocks again. Once again, I just used recall here, but there are several ways to go about this, as they supply a ton of platforms. This is a pretty solid tutorial trying to also learn really back on I need one to win device. This acts as a showcase for Van Dice, which is pretty important as it's used all the time in the game. There are 3 puzzles you have to solve to reach the end. First, you simply need to use the fan to activate the airplane.
Make the move now.
Water, and then you use the fan to propel the elevator. These are all pretty simple puzzles, but each teach you an important aspect of the item. I do also like the chest here. You have to attach the fans to this platform so the chest is on the correct side.
Oh damn.
Besides that, everything in this shrine is fairly simple. That's pretty understandable. This one is a pretty new concept. You have to use first power to use the platform to create a super Yeah, I think the concept here with the execution is a bit more muscle. Okay, the one should have been located at the right imagination. Again, I did Chest here is also pretty
Oh,
easy.
yeah.
Buried underneath the pile of corpse is a sort of hidden reward you can scoop up. Again, I do wish you actually had to scoop it, but as it is, it's fine. 89. This shrine acts as a showcase for the skills, you can use them to bring the arm across several different obstacles like lava, water, or air. Yeah, by attaching the worm to the car like this and lifting it up using Ultra Hand, you can simply climb back up the ladder and use the big ball and grab the gold. In my opinion, this is probably the single easiest to cheat shrine in the game. I mean, I had to look up a walkthrough for this shrine just to see what the rest of it actually was, and most of the comments are saying they did the exact same thing as me. While it does have to lose some points for that, the cheese is honestly kind of funny, so I'm not bringing it down as
Oh yeah, I still haven't talked to everyone.
The reason it's able to make it into the top 100 as well is
I'll do it later.
the cheese is honestly a pretty solid shrine. You get to use the wheels to
I'll have to run away from here anyway. Eventually.
Those last two are both really creative uses for
Stop
wheels.
the
I think
waiting.
if this shrine just made it
For
to the
reaching
board,
out for the truth. Oh yeah!
might have been able to place much more. At least you don't get the chest if you decide to choose.
So either I got really unlucky or this guy only ever targets the front.
All-time cuts. This shrine's theme is using the ability to cut strings with arrows. It starts out with a simple showcase of this mechanic, where you have to cut this box of string to be long. Then you get introduced to this shrine's secondary gimmick on top of the cutting, that being recall. You have to use it on this block so that you can move up to the next section. Then you can either jump straight to the chest, which gives you access to the platform. Speaking of catching a chest, the next room of the shrine is blocked off by enemies, so you can cut down the chest. This one, though, you have to use recall on it.
Wait, why did I summon the cow? Fuck!
I did a lot of stuff like this throughout the game, but this was the first time
Oh,
it
can
was
stop the wait.
At least I thought it was
Keep
fairly
on
easy.
reaching out for the truth. Oh
This time you have to
yeah!
essentially do the exact same thing, but on a giant orb instead of a chest. Honestly, I kind of wish this was something different, because having the exact same solution as the chest on the last room makes this shrine slightly more. That is the end of the shrine though, and overall I think it was solid. The reason it's not higher is because I feel like the last puzzle could have been something more interesting. Maybe you'd have to try and cut the string as it swings at the perfect time to make the orb win. I'd still say the length was good here, I just changed the last puzzle. 87, Faro's Blessing, Canadu Shrine. This is once again another blessing shrine taking place on a sky island. The platform is on an island separated from the crystal, and you have to travel across them. Luckily, there's one of these gravity-defying platforms in a van nearby, so you can use it to travel to the sky island. Once you get to the crystal island, you have to cut down some vines in order to reach the crystal inside. To deliver it back to the shrine platform, you're given a large amount of Zonite parts alongside another gravity-defying platform. This is where a lot of the fun for the shrine comes in, as you have to try and make a unique vehicle to transport the crystal. Overall, this blessing is definitely on the more simple side, but I enjoyed doing it. 86, Faro's Blessing, recommended. This crystal is found in the
lost again.
shrine platform is found at the top of the
Don't
river that
take
gets
it
a
too
lot
hard.
of what you need to do in order to complete this shrine is take the rock and attach it to the stone in the middle of the ground. Assuming you put them together correctly, you should now have a single card that you can use to write up the water. I just get really fun being able to write up the perfect straight wall. Yeah, it might take a little time. On your way up the shrine, you can also pick up your rock. This isn't technically part of the shrine itself, but like you have this shared TV. Once you get to the top, this is where you go by. Alright, next, you grab your items and make it famous.
Okay, yeah, I think bolt spread only goes for the front. That sucks. It's happened enough times at this point that I'm convinced that's the case. Stone songs. Whoa! Yes, Taylor's Rush. Yes. Anyone teaming up with Taylor's Rush should wear some earplugs now, huh?
Eventually, though, I was able to complete the super easy solution and finish the shrine. I just kind of like this shrine conceptually, but as I've shown, it is quite simple, so it's going to be beautiful. Lining up the circles, I entered this shrine at the beginning. I knew this would be like my personal least favorite shrine in Breath of the Wild, just by taking in Breath of the Wild, there was a shrine called Fateful Stones, and it was the only shrine I had to look up the solution for in both this game and Breath of the Wild. What you had to do was place cards into specific folders based on the time you were. I hated this puzzle because it felt so stupid, and I know I wasn't alone. The number one auto-fill shrine in Breath of the Wild was trying to look it up, which certainly made me feel better about not knowing it, but I still hated it. So when I entered the shrine and saw the ton of folders in front of me, I knew exactly what I was doing. But what was the solution this time? Well, instead of needing to look at the walls, to know which order you're going to need to place your works in, you have to look at the ceiling. In every single shrine, there are these great rings scattered about, but in this shrine, it points to the four folders you need to place them to the side. Now, this one is kind of hard for me to judge.
Take over, time to look down. Take over, nothing's gonna be the way I come over here. Game's over.
Which is such a good idea. So while I was prepared to put this mode into my Breath of the Wild trauma, I don't know, maybe I just grew as a person, but I like this version much more different. 80 jumping gaps. As the name implies, this is all about jumping large gaps. Okay, so what you actually have to do is create random balls to roll over. First room is simply a right by using the ball to roll over and begin from there. The second room has the chest, which is pretty simple as all you have to do is make a pound of your progress. Also, this room requires thinking about the ramp. You don't have to already raise up these before, you have to make the ramp from scratch and you would raise the platform, which is pretty fun. Sadly though, once you make the second shot, the shrine ends. The idea is really solid, and I definitely think it's deserving of being further expanded. Had this shrine had one or two more rooms, I think this could have placed one higher, but as it is, it's a slightly underutilized good idea. 79, Mallet Smash. In the first room, you're given a big log and a rocket, which then you have to combine to hit the target. Also, mine broke halfway through, but it still works, so the next room is the chest, which is just fun to get, so whatever, but also a new set of materials. Instead of having a sliding block, you have to build your mallet onto a wheel. I think this is a pretty good way to slightly up the difficulty, requiring 2 logs instead of just 1. Sadly though, that's the end of the shrine, so yeah, this was pretty short. While I like the concept, it definitely needed a bit more. The other problem though is, of course,
Take over,
sadly has too many problems.
take over, nothing's gonna be the way I
Personally, you have to put that platform you have to then
Take
attach it
over. Another formaldehyde.
This just does make a bit more effort to reach the last or give it some notice. The little target gives us a log alongside the chain. Additionally, the arms on a sliding platform they will swing on the platform into the target, which is a really creative block. While the block does add a bit of weight, it's much better to attach it onto the sliding block itself to get rid of the weight. To hit the target though, you once again reach the end of the kind of short run. While I definitely like this one's gimmick more than the last entry, both are so short that I think they have to end up next to each other. And of course, all of that. 77, Sliding Device. This shrine is all about the sled zone I device. Entering into this shrine, we see several sleds going down a sandy hill. They're going pretty quick, so it's impossible to catch them. Why are you trying to? Stop! Stop! To get up this hill, we have to use recall the sleds. So once we finally make it up safely, we get into the main area of the shrine. This is a massive open space where you can use the sleds, and controls, which you can of course make it a vehicle to explore the area. Now, you can pretty much just go straight to the end from here, but if you decide to take a left, you can go for the chats. Once you do that though, you can fly back over to the main area pretty quickly and reach the end. Yeah, this shrine is pretty quick. I did enjoy it though, as the big open area was nice. I just wish there was a bit more here. 76, Shining in Darkness. As the name implies, this is once again another shrine that takes place in complete darkness. This does luckily give us a light so we can see through the darkness and make our way through maze. We need to find a key so that we can go through the door and exit the shrine. There's one out in the open, but it only contains a luminous stone.
I just
Other two
realized
chests involve picking
V3
up parts of
finally
the
has a
wall,
skill
which I think are pretty
named
good hiding spots.
Aegis.
The one inside the floor tower contains the key, which means once again we have to make our way back to the start and escape. Now I do really like the idea behind this shrine, but I feel like it could have been executed a bit better. Only needing to find one key makes this take almost no time at all, so if the maze was bigger and we needed to find, say, 3 keys, I think that would have been pretty cool. I also think there should have been some enemies here as well. Still, I did like this shrine, but it could have been greatly improved. 75, Downward Force. This is located on the way up to the Wind Temple, which is very important as this showcases one of that climb's main elements, these trampoline airships. Before we get into them though, you first have to unlock a gate by shooting this switch through the bars. This just teaches you that arrows can be used to hit these switches, which will be important for the end of the course. After getting out of the
It's
gate,
not
you then have to
elemental
fight
damage.
against the construct before finally reaching the first bow. This teaches you exactly what they do. By jumping on them, you'll get launched up super high into the sky. Once you understand what they do, you then have to go into the obstacle course, which features several moving ships that you have to glide between to reach the end, and the chest hidden off in the corner. Once you reach the end, the shrine comes full circle, like I said, where you have to use bullet time and hit this switch to open the exit. This shrine was quite a lot of fun to do in the end. It was honestly a bit tricky to rank, as it wasn't really about puzzle solving or combat, more so platforming. I still like the shrine a lot though. I mean, my favorite gaming franchise is Mario, so of course I'm gonna love platforming. I did still decide to keep this kind of low, but I had a lot of fun with it. 74, Deep Force. This shrine focuses on a pretty unique element, being these zonite balls that float on water. The first room requires you to hit a target using this ball by sinking it into the water and having it fly back up. First off, I just think using this element is kind of fun. The way it bounces on the water is enjoyable to mess around with. Entering into the second room, we're able to find the chest hidden in a really neat spot. It's extremely difficult to see unless you're currently using Ultra Hand, which I think is pretty cool. This room also has a construct, which is a bit random to throw in, but I won't complain because it's something worth it. That brings us to the main puzzle here, which is exactly.
How do I get past this guy?
Yeah, there's a platform off to the side, but I'm really not sure why. You can just sink the ball to solve the room again. Really not sure what this is about. Luckily, the last room is a pretty fun one. When you enter, you'll see an elevator that's blocked off by a platform. So your goal is to use the balls to knock the platform out of the way and release the elevator. I think that's a pretty cute and fun expansion of the idea. Once you do that, you simply have to use recall to reach the end. This was definitely a fun shrine to actually do, but the second puzzle takes this one quite a bit. Really not sure why they did that. Also, of course, there are targets here, but it barely
I'm
saves
pretty
you
sure
any
this
time
guy
to
used to
move on,
not
so I
be
don't
here.
care. Alright, these
The
next
hell?
3 shrines are all pretty much the same conceptually, so I might as well cover them all together. 73, Rose Blessing, Megaship Shrine. 72,
the patterns
Rose Blessing,
change.
Sussus Shrine. And 71,
Does it
Rose
depend
Blessing,
on the
Megaship
cycle?
Shrine.
What
All 3 of these are
pattern I
mazes that require
get?
Link to try and reach the center by following a trail of plateau.
Since I'm here, I can just try fighting.
Actually, I don't know any others besides the snow base on in the blue hands. I straight off the path once and got jump
I'll
scared,
fight
so
it.
I never did
I'll
it
have
again.
dinner
First
after.
off, I really like the settings. Mazes are just always a lot of fun to go through, and that makes each of these extremely memorable. On top of just the gloom hands, the area is also covered in the gloom effect, which can create some situations where you have to come up with ways to avoid it. Along with that, there are also several hidden chests in each of these, making the exploration around the maze a ton of fun as well. They really do feel like a journey to go through, which I think is the absolute best thing these blessing shrines can be. There are a few issues I do have which keep them from being higher though, but they're mostly small nitpicks. First off, there being 3 of them does make it a bit less original, but I still had fun regardless. Plus, all 3 of these are technically part of a quest, where after each shrine you can go through more mazes and collect pieces of the Ganon armor. That's not really part of the shrine itself though, so I'm going to be ignoring this guy in depth spaces. The biggest problem would probably be the fact that you can pretty easily skip over some of these. For example, while doing the maze in the water, I just simply used a nearby flying machine and landed directly next to the shrine room, meaning I basically skipped the entire maze. I sort of wish the maze just had a roof to go over it, that way you can't choose
Nice.
the top until after you hit the shrine. I definitely did still have some fun with these though, so I can't say they were bad. My favorite was definitely the snow one for a few reasons. First off,
What?
it's the only one I did completely without cheese, but also the snow setting worked really well. You have to make sure you stay warm, along with this having hidden items left behind ice that needs to get melted. The other 2 maze shrines are good as well, I just think the snow one is my favorite personally. 70, Hidden Metal. This shrine is all about using metal to conduct electricity, and it showcases this feature off pretty well. The first room requires us to simply attach one metal orb to another, which then powers the nearby gear. Then once we get up, we have to do the same thing. The chain is just a bit too short. So to solve this, you have to move one, freeze it with recall, and then attach the second orb while it's frozen. That is a really cool idea for a puzzle, and it's not really seen anywhere else. Sadly though, I did find this to be a bit too fitting. The glue from the Ultra Hand would just randomly break for me, and it felt like I just had to get lucky to get it to stick. On top of that, if you move on to the next room while the glue detaches, it won't have any power, so you have to go back and then reattach it. Again, this is a cool idea. I just wish it was a bit more clear when the glue broke most of the time, but then worked afterwards. That then gives us access to the last room, which is where the shrine gets the hidden part of its name from. Plus there was hidden metal, just talking about. You know, that was Anyway, this has only one metal orb, which you have to attach to a rod. The chain is far too short. What you have to do is find another rod in the room and then attach that to the orb so the electricity can reach. The rod is hidden between the gears, which are used to get the chest, which is a really good hiding spot. Except I could not for the life of me find it. I spent like 5 minutes in this room doing nothing, and then I got tired and eventually just used a metal sword I had to cheese it. Being able to cheese by just having a metal weapon is a bit lame, but it's not that big of a deal. That on top of the other section being a bit finicky though, did sort of turn me off from this shrine a bit, but I'd still say the idea was pretty good, even if the execution could have been a bit better. 69, Raru's Blessing, Rashomon Shrine. This takes place in the Lake of Tennon Cave. You have to somehow find a way to bring this crystal across this lava to the shrine. Inside the room with you is also a fire light lake, which is a pretty enjoyable fight. Once you kill it, you get access to the Zonai device it was guarding, a hydrant. Using this, you'll be able to make platforms on the lava, which can be used to take the shrine rock across the gap. If you don't want to make a ton of platforms though, don't worry, as there's also a fan nearby, so you can essentially create a lava zone. After crossing the gap, you're able to reach the end and collect the reward. I like the decent mix of combat and puzzle solving here. Definitely not the most complicated blessing shrine, but I still liked it. 68. Raru's Blessing, Sukamon Bar Shrine. This blessing takes place in the Lost Woods. All we have to do is first talk to a Korok and then follow its instructions by only walking where the blue nightshades are located. If we don't, we'll get lost in the woods. This is pretty similar to the maze shrines we saw before. There are 3 things that make this stand out though. For one, you can't cheese it, or if you can, it's significantly harder. Secondly, there are several enemies placed on the path. While they are fairly easy to defeat since they're just skeletons are loose, who cares? The biggest difference though is that instead of the shrine just being at the end, we have to bring a shrine rock to a platform. In order to do that, we have to fight a Talus, making this our second Talus shrine. This one is just a normal Talus, making it the easiest fight of the 3, but the content surrounding this fight puts this up quite a bit above the Frostcomp's fight. Again, keep in mind that I do quite enjoy fighting Taluses, that helps us in ranking as well. Once you defeat it, the shrine basically comes to an end, making this a pretty solid blessing. 67. Raru's Blessing, Mindhawk. This shrine takes place inside Defiant Badlands Cave. What makes this shrine so special is the fact that this is another one shrouded in complete darkness. Now, we did mention another blessing shrine in a darkness cave at number 120, so why do I think this one is...
Hello na, kumakain ka na?
No, I'm about to eat though.
O sige, nasa green bed na si Mami. Sabay tayo kakain.
Oh, okay, sure. I'll wait then. Yeah.
Okay. O sige na, bye.
Bye-bye.
Hello.
Well, it comes down to how drastically different these 2 layouts are.
Am I
That
lucky?
level is pretty much a straight shot to the shrine, but this cave is much more maze-like. As you make your way through, you'll have to fight through several Horriblin camps, which gives a nice bit of combat challenge in this cave. Eventually, after fighting through several waves of enemies, you're able to make it to the end of the cave and enter into the blessing. Exploring the inside of this and going down in several paths was pretty fun, which is why I think this is so much
The
better than some
headband
of
was
the
so
other blessing
lucky.
shrines we've seen before. 66. Timely Catches. This shrine is all about timing a button press so that a ball is able to land on a pressure plate. The first room gives us a pretty simple introduction to this idea. In front of us, there's a switch which will temporarily bring the pressure plate into the open. At the right of the shrine, you can get launched up to a higher ledge where you can then make a ball start rolling. So what you have to do is roll the ball down, and as it's about to fall, activate the switch. I'd say this was pretty fun to do, and this is greatly expanded upon in the next room. The idea is pretty much the same. You have to hit a switch and launch upward to start a ball rolling. This time though, the launch sends you just a smidge further. Since the switch is all the way at the floor, you have to fall alongside the ball and try to hit the switch on the way down. Landing on top of the switch as the ball is falling nearby is a ton of fun. I really like the idea behind this one. Sadly, this is where the shrine ends, which makes it a bit shorter than I would have liked, but I still enjoyed my time with it. 65. Longer Line. This shrine is all about using paddles to knock around different objects. The first room opens up with a simple
Sure.
introduction, requiring the player to simply use the
No
paddle to
longer
knock the
bound.
giant orb into its holder. The next room is pretty similar, though this time you have to add a block to the paddle for some extra weight. The third and final room contains this shrine's big puzzle. You first have to try and find a way to attach a platform to the paddle so that it's long enough to hit the ball. This then unlocks a minecart that you have to use to reach the end of the shrine. Now yes, you could technically just walk across the rails, but honestly that's much harder and barely saves any time, so it's kind of hard to call that real cheese. In order to push the minecart across though, you have to reuse the paddle and platform from the giant orb, but this time attaching the platform so it's wide enough to hit the minecart. I think this reuse was really creative, a pretty
What?
solid way to end off this shrine. Sure, this wasn't the most complicated thing in the world, but it was still enjoyable nonetheless. 64. Raru's Blessing, Janu Shrine. This takes place within a cave where we have to bring a shrine rock from one end to another.
Oh, boy.
Unfortunately, the cave is just a little flooded, so we have to make some sort of boat to get across. Luckily, there are parts nearby to create said boat. You can do whatever you want, but I fused 2 planks
Like
together
vines
and
are
added
actually
fins and a
useless.
rocket.
Flinch again.
Making your way through this river is pretty fun. There are also chests floating inside the river that you can stop and pick up. Once you get to the other side though, you've pretty much finished the shrine. While definitely pretty simple, I did have fun designing a boat. There are a lot of options here and that helped it out. 63. Ferrari's Blessing Yamazuki Shrine. This takes place in Tarn Point Cave, where Link first meets with Sasan. He talks about how his partner finally swam across the massive body of water. He seems to really like her as he calls her a sweetheart and says that he'd do anything for her, which is why he asks us for help getting across. There's already a boat here, but what you need to do is find a way to push it forward. I just used a Korok leaf attached to a sword, which is able to create a giant gust of wind. Once you get the boat into the water, you'll notice what's so special about it, as the level will keep rising and lowering. So you have to push the boat through this while avoiding all the obstacles. While it can be somewhat slow as you have to wait for the right water level, I still had a pretty fun time making it through this cave. It's especially satisfying when you manage to gain a lot of speed and breeze over a ton of obstacles at once. There are also a few barrels and chests to collect here as well. Once you reach the end, you're able to reunite Sasan and finally on the other side. Anyway, once you get across, you get access to the shrine and you can complete the quest. Going through the quest with the boat was pretty fun, and I also liked how it wasn't just a shrine rock, but instead something that had to do with an NPC. I don't like Sasan at all, but it's cool that NPCs were used, I guess. 62. Wheeled Wonders. This shrine focuses on the big wheels, which are often used for vehicles. This shrine does actually show off a few more ways these can be used though. First off, the starting puzzle actually doesn't have us use wheels at all, instead being met with a bridge that needs to be put together. That makes sense though because our next puzzle has us use the wheels to create a path across. Seeing the bridge unfold out is super satisfying. I think this was a pretty good one to throw in here. Once we cross the lava gap, we then get to use the wheels in a more generic way, that being to make a vehicle across lava. This is pretty simple, but I think it's important to throw on. Once we get to the other side, we can then use Ascend to get to the last section. Here we have a construct to fight, along with access to the chest, which I just used Ascend to get. The final puzzle here gives us a pressure plate along with a ton of small orbs. One isn't enough to push down the pressure plate by itself, but by using a large majority of them, it will have enough weight to activate it. Now you could be lame and just move the balls one by one onto the plate, or you could use the wheels and a scoop at the side to make a machine to push all the balls in at once. I think that was a pretty creative integration for the device, and overall I did enjoy how many unique ways to use this element this shrine showed off. 61. A launching device. This shrine acts as a showcase for the rocket, one of the most important pieces of Zonai tech. The first room starts off with the target practice using the item. Like I've said numerous times, you can cheese this with bombs, but also that doesn't really matter here because why would you waste a bomb when the intended solution takes maybe 5 seconds longer? Launching the rocket into the target is pretty fun too. Honestly, I'm a bit sad they didn't expand upon this more by maybe having a room where the target moves around and you have to time your rocket activation. Anyway, the next room has us use rockets to propel minecarts forward on a rail, which is good since vehicles are often one of the main times you'll want to be using rockets in the game. Once you get to the second floor, you can reach the chest using a rocket shield, which is another great showcase of what the rocket can do. The final actual puzzle has us combine what we learned from the first two, the fact that rockets can go flying and that they can attach to minecarts. Using this knowledge, we can soar across this big gap and reach the end, which is also pretty fun. While pretty easy, I think this did a good job showing off what all the rocket can do, so I like this shrine. 60. A bouncy device. This acts as a showcase for the spring. The first room simply shows us what the spring does, requiring the player to jump on it to reach a higher ledge. I also kind of like how they use a catapult before the
blinding
spring, so
does
we
not
can sort
do
of
much.
compare the two. Once you get up to this new ledge, you're faced with another spring and an empty holder, which you of course need to find an orb for. By looking to your right, you'll be able to see the orb on a platform across a big gap, so you have to use the spring at an angle to launch yourself up and across to the other side. I like that they include the different angles springs can be used in, as it shows the player a new way to use the item. Once you get across that gap, you have to then launch the orb back where you came from by placing them both in a... What are you doing? Okay, once you actually launch yourself in the orb across the gap, you can open the cage with the orb to get another 2 springs. Now, if you thought I was an idiot before, you've seen nothing yet. For some reason, I thought the goal for this shrine was to reach the top of the room where you get these 2 springs. So I, no joke, spent over 6 minutes making random doohickeys to try and get up. Thankfully, I did eventually figure out that there's absolutely nothing up here, and all I needed to do was use the 2 springs to get up the ledge in the main room. Well, once you're able to get this chest, the shrine comes to an end. Despite how much I struggled with that last puzzle, I do once again like it as it can show you how you get launched further if you use multiple springs, which is something that's not very obvious. Overall, a pretty good showcase of the device. They really went out of their way to show how many ways it can be used. 59. A controlling device. Continuing our little Zonai showcase streak, we have a shrine that demonstrates the
Dang
control
it.
stick. The first section starts by giving us a little card that we can use to drag over lava. While we can't just use the card to simply get over to the next section, the chest is also hidden here as well. You have to use the card to sneak into a skinny passageway and then pick up an orb using Ultra Hand. You then attach it to the car and drop it off into its holder, which opens up the chest. I really like this one. It's a good use of the vehicle and in turn the control stick, along with just being hidden really well. Once you're done with that though, you have to fight a construct before getting up to the next vehicle, being some planes. They aren't ready to go yet though, as you actually have to attach the control stick yourself by tearing apart a car. Once you get it on though, you have probably my favorite flying section from any shrine. Most of the others are completely empty, but here you actually have to avoid some walls, which is a nice addition and makes sense for a shrine all about precisely controlling your vehicle. When you get past the walls, you're finally able to reach the end. I think this was a pretty great showcase of the control stick device. The only thing holding it back is that vehicles like these are definitely used in a lot of shrines, but I don't think it loses too many points for that because this was still quite fun. 58, the ability to combine. This is what I believe to be easily the best of the 4 tutorial shrines. This acts as our tutorial for the fuse ability, and I think they showed it off extremely well here. The first room requires us to break down a wall that's in our way. We're given a few boulders and a rusty claymore, which we can use to make a hammer. Well, once you learn that you can't break down a rock wall with a flimsy stick, you realize that you have to use the boulders, which gets you to the next room. This has 2 areas. The first has several more rock pillars, and the second teaches us how to use the fuse ability with the bow. I'm really happy they didn't just stick to melee weapons here, as I think this is pretty important to teach as well. For this puzzle, you have to use the fire fruits in the room to burn down the leaves across a massive gap. Fire fruit are also some of the most important items to fuse to arrows throughout the entire game, so showing off them specifically is quite smart. Successfully doing this will get you a key, which can let you move on. Before you do that though, you can find a hidden chest on top of one of the stone pillars here, which lets you use your fused weapon even more. The final room for this shrine is a combat test
so
against
dangerous.
the construct. That makes total sense, as this ability is all about weapon combos, which is also shown off by the construct, as it too will use fuse during the fight. This is also a small thing, but I love that there are leaves on the floor here too, which means you can continue to use that fire fruit from earlier to burn the construct. Once you finally beat it, you're able to finish the shrine. Personally, I think there's absolutely no contest between this and the other tutorials. I feel like this had the best puzzles, and it expanded upon its ability the most out of any of them. Even outside of just being a tutorial, this is a pretty strong shrine contender, which is something I can't really say for the other 3. I'm really happy with how this one turned out.
No.
Our next 3 shrines are all very similar, as each require us to fight a flux construct and then bring the shrine rock connected to them back to a shrine platform. These are all pretty similar to each other, so keeping them back to back makes the most sense to me. I quite enjoy the flux fights as well. It uses the Ultra Hand ability really creatively, which makes me enjoy these blessings despite them being slightly repetitive. So starting the streak off, 57, Rory's Blessing, Ganos Shrine. This specific flux construct is known as the Guardian of the Tabantha Sky Archipelago. Now I should mention that this is a flux construct level 3. I know that enemies can level up with you as you play the game, but I'm not sure if these constructs are affected by that or not. I'm going with the assumption that they are, but if not, you can change the order of this mini flux section by putting the higher level ones on the top. As for this flux specifically, it takes place in freezing temperatures, so you have to make sure and eat something to protect from raw. Well, aside from that, the fight is pretty much the same as all the others. Once you defeat the construct and loot all of its drops, you then have to take the shrine rock back up to the platform. The way you get the shrine rock back up is very simple, as the island with the construct has a flying machine you can use. This is by far the simplest method to transport the stone back, so of these 3, it's the weakest. 56, Rory's Blessing, Mayhem Shrine. This is a fight against the Guardian of the North Hyrule Sky Archipelago. This is pretty much the same as the last fight, just without the temperature change. This is also a Flux Construct level 1, which may or may not be because of my world level. What puts this above the last one is how you have to bring the shrine rock to the platform. Instead of having a flying machine, we have an anti-gravity platform and a lot of rockets. Trying to line up the shot is pretty difficult, so you may have to get creative to close the gap between the platform you're on and the shrine platform.
Quinch,
Honestly, I like not having a
believe in
completely
you.
free vehicle, so moving the rock was fun. 55, Rory's Blessing, Kumamian Shrine. The final Flux Construct Blessing is against the Guardian of the Nukluda Sky Archipelago. This fight is the same as the last one, but instead of there being anti-gravity platforms, they're springs. I think these are more fun to use in a fight, so I enjoy this battle the best of the 3. On top of that, getting the rock to the platform is easily my favorite here as well. Instead of a vehicle, you're given a spring attached to a platform, which you have to try and set up and launch the stones across. I quite enjoy launching things, making this my favorite of the 3. Obviously, they're all pretty close together though. 54, Water Makes a Way. This shrine is focused on the water hydrant Zonai device. The first room gives us a pretty simple introduction to it, showing that the water is able to make cobblestone when it comes in contact with lava. Once I finally stopped being an idiot, not understanding that you have to hit the device to turn it on, you can use the cobblestone to create a bridge across the lava to the other side. Pretty much, if you've ever played Skyblock, this is exactly like that. Once you get to the other side, you can go to the right for a chest, which is blocked by lava, but it's also elevated upwards, so you not only have to make a cobblestone platform here, but also raise it up with recall. After that, you can go to the other side of this room, which has a rusty
How
claymore
much
and a
progress
wall
did I
on the
lose
side.
exactly?
Obviously, what you have to do here is clean the claymore. Okay, just kidding, that doesn't help. You've defused the claymore with the cobblestone platform against the wall, which I think is a real...
Teka. Need to get those chests again. And obviously there's the XP loss. Damn. I'm gonna see if I can get Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom running again after dinner.